The bulldog, which turned into the vanguard, or the potato, or the vanguard.
It's quite complicated to get working. I know there was a fair amount of skepticism out there. You've got to earn the belief. The game wasn't built. The game wasn't built.
Haven't had an opportunity to work on them, but they are in the works.
Refactor them, change things out, retrofit it, refactor them, refactor them. People program things.
This is bullshit.
Hello, Internet. This is your virtual captain. We are here with episode 5, 6 of the ARGcast. I'm sitting here with our guests, Bootcha, Beet Wagon, and Dapper Don again. We're recording this in the same session. But, we were just talking about production value of the different shows they put on, and I was making that intro to the podcast. I mean, I was surprised how bad the audio quality is. It's kind of like really muffled, and there's a lot of humming going on in the background on some of those. I was kind of surprised. But for the most part, they come across pretty professionally. But we got a few different subjects here. We're not going to be just talking about their crappy YouTube videos. We've got a few different things.
Although their crappy YouTube videos could be the subject of a million podcasts because they put out like 1,000 hours a week of crappy videos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to say there's more effort going into those videos than the game itself, but I don't know. Game development
That was
is
the
hard.
point I was trying to make.
Actually, I might have a little bit of a breakdown for that. Not just like insider knowledge, but just like just thoughts on the matter.
Well, I've noticed that you have quite a good amount of production value that goes into your videos, and most of it's, amateur done, but it seems like you've got maybe some background.
Okay. Well, let's see. If I can probably go through the numbers on this. So for like the stretch goals, I mean, we talk about like the promises made by Star Citizen, and in the stretch goals, there are a lot of media production promises and stuff like that. So if I can take a look at this, we are looking, let's see, a total for, let's see, the 2012 stretch goals. So there were a total of 6 media production promises. Let's see, so there,
you use the promise word again.
Yes, promises. So currently there are 11 total media production promises. 4 from 2012, 7 after the 2012 cutoff. 3 of those 2012 ones are fulfilled, as are 3 after 2012. That leaves about 5 unfulfilled. So if I kind of look at this
I
stuff,
see what you're talking about. You're talking about like the behind the scenes. We're going to make a documentary about the game being made versus...
Yeah, like the documentary, the Chris Roberts town hall,
Right.
Let's see, the behind the scenes. Let's see, the Origin Museum that I think had like 6-7 episodes.
Now, do you have your own? Do you have your own list that you catalog here, or are you just looking at like Star Citizen Tracker?
I'm looking at Star Citizen Tracker, and I'm looking plainly at the stretch goals themselves that are listed on the website.
Okay.
So, basically, the development breakdown, the promises that we see CIG is most able to complete within 5 years of development. It's an indication of where their priorities lie. And at the top of this, media and spaceships are at the top of completion. So we're looking at, it makes sense because on media promises fulfilled, about 54%. Let's see, spaceships are about 24 total, 8 and 6, and 6 and 7 fulfilled, just over 54%. And everything else on that list is lower. This is going to be a subject for Salt Cook Travesty, sort of like getting lost in the weeds. So like a breakdown of that, sort of like Yeah, so like media production takes a big priority in their fulfillment of promises, and as do spaceships.
Mm.
And also, they just came out with that new 100i and its variants. And another little interesting thing that I took a look at was, remember, Galarox was a Banu merchantman owner, and he told me not to talk about it in his presence, and since he's not here, I get to talk about it.
Whoa.
So,
say that again. I was not listening.
What?
Galarox has you on a leash? Jesus Christ.
Oh, no. Galarox made me promise not to talk about the Banu merchantman in his presence.
Okay. Okay.
Because he's salty about it.
I'll be honest with you. I will be 100% honest with you that there are two ships that I have very strong opinions about in Star Citizen, and one of them is the Banu Merchantman, which I owned, and the other one is the Retaliator, which I owned. But please feel free, because I would love to hear what you have to say about the Banu Merchantman.
Okay. So the breakdown of spaceships that have been made available for sale. All right, so you have the original 5 ships that were offered during the original Kickstarter and crowdfunding. So you had the original 5 were, Aurora, Hornet, Freelancer, 300i, and Constellation. 5 right there. Stretch goal unlocks Gladiator, 6. Stretch goal unlocks Starfarer,
I'm playing
7.
your Star Citizen Tetris in my head while you're talking.
The Retaliator, number 8. The Drake Cutlass, number 9. This was a late pledge package that was added to the Kickstarter later on, as well as the main store. And then the Origin M50 at 10. And then there was a stretch goal that had like a couple of them, like the Drake Caterpillar, the Idris, the Vandal Scythe was sold as a bonus. And the Destroyer Javelin, and a promised cruiser that hasn't been designed. The Bengal Carrier made available for the Persistent Universe. I'm not really counting that one just because that's not. Oh, who knows when we'll see that?
That's more of a set piece than it is a ship, really.
Okay. So one of the things that I ran into was sort of like Ben Lesnick made an error. Yes, I get to catch Ben Lesnick in an error. So he said that the Avenger was the 14th ship made available, but it was actually the 21st. They had actually brought in 7 other ships. I mean, that was like the Aurora variants, the MRCL, LX, LN, and then the 300i variants, the 315, 325, 350, and then the Idris Patrol Craft was number 22. And so we're getting all the way down to when was the Banu Merchantman sold as a ship? It turns out it was the 28th ship made available for sale for anybody to buy. The 28th ship. And so, stretch goals ships promised since the Banu Merchantman have been about 14. Like the Mustang, the 690 Jump, the Origin, the Surveyor, which actually turned into the Reclaimer, the Carrack, the Whole Sea Discreet, which is not the same as the Whole Seas that they were selling before. It is a completely different variant. So, and then we have the Herald, the Gladius, the Endeavor, the Crucible, the Bulldog, which turned into the Vanguard, or the Potato, or the Vanguard. The Prowler, the Starliner, and the Reliance.
Oh, the fucking Prowler.
Okay, I'm writing this down as a show
That's another one. Okay,
intro
so I have very strong opinions about 3 Star Citizen ships.
Okay, and then unannounced promised ships since then, so not attached to any stretch goal, anything at all. 75 ships since the. I mean, we've got like the Connie variants, the Freelancer variants, the Redeemer, the Cutlass variants, the Mustang variants, the Holes, the Glaive, the Reliant, the Saber, the Blade, the Prospector, the Buccaneer, the Dragonfly, the Terrapin, the Argo 1 and 2, Polaris, Razor, Hurricane, Defender, Eclipse, Nox, Cyclone, 600i, X1, Pioneer, Raven, the Tank, the Vulcan, the 100i, and its 2 other variants. And 49 ships right now are flight ready, and plus 5, I believe, with the 3.1. So,
and I think not to interrupt you, but just briefly, I think to get the whole picture with all of these ships, like the numbers themselves are fucking staggering. Just the numbers of stuff that is promised versus what's implemented. But also, fully, I think half of these ships, if not more than half, have a specific gameplay mechanic tied to them. And in many cases, like the whatever the one is that builds bases, that could be its own game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to add on to your actually incredibly impressive list of starships.
I mean, yeah, remember, sort of like the spaceship Tetris. I mean, there's a reason why it took like not just 3 weeks to put it all together in animation. This took a long time to actually research.
Oh my God. I know there has got to be a collection of goons out there that could slap this together on a Tetris skin. And my God.
The thought has crossed my mind.
The salt it would harvest for the next decade would be just staggering.
Okay. Put that on the back burner. Lord knows I spend enough time on Star Citizen as it is.
And the whole thing is, it's got to have the soundtrack with full burn on it.
yeah, that's doable.
Oh fuck! God!
We need to get a Patreon for Toops to do it.
Oh,
you mean hold on? Are you suggesting that people give money to the Star Citizen Thread's very own Chris Roberts? the guy who started building a game 2 years ago and then just sort of was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not even doing it anymore. Maybe he's not the best choice is all I'm saying. I love you, Toops. I love you to death. You're great.
Oh, you don't know that he's the mastermind behind Love Pledge.
Oh, see, that's an interesting angle.
Hey, we got our first conspiracy theory.
First conspiracy theory. I was gonna say I forgot that this is a separate episode because I've just been sitting here drinking for an hour and 20 minutes at this point. But yeah, first conspiracy theory of the new episode. I like it.
Toops is the Chris Roberts behind Love Pledge.
Yeah. So does that make the agent Aaron? The guy who can kind of build it a little bit, but isn't?
No, the agent is Sandy.
Oh, that's mean. I like the agent.
Well, he is the
public face.
He is the public face, the VP of marketing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, he does market the shit out of it. I mean, none of us have given him a dime yet, but he's trying.
I mean, you've thrown yourself at it.
I will say this about Toops, though. Somebody in our chat just says a secret dev build for Solar Plebeian that none of us knows about. But I will say this. In Toops' defense, he did release a build, and it was about as playable as Star Citizen. So,
then what are these people doing with all this time and money? I mean, besides fucking up.
They're making pamphlets to make you buy spaceships, man.
So one topic we wrote down was ship design and why does it take so long? I was on another cast recently and I was complaining that my friend and I would throw together cars and spaceships and all sorts of things in 3ds Max over a weekend. No studio required. Obviously, we weren't texturing them and doing all the stuff, but we were, doing the $9,000 or 9,000 polygon screws and things like that. Same like CIG does.
Mm-hmm.
And someone, Bootcha or Dapper, maybe you said you had some kind of insight into why these take so long. Are they struggling with the engine? I mean, I have this theory that CryEngine really wasn't built for any other vehicles than maybe a Jeep or some simple things.
That's not a theory, man. That's just fact.
That is just the fact. They have broken the engine, and it has gotten to the point to where you can only shovel shit on top of itself before it starts to cascade down, and you can't get back to that original form.
So, from my experience inside seeing this stuff, and my anecdote for this is partially the reason why my faith started to shake a bit, was that I went in during a year, and I got to see Mike Smith working on the Constellation. I think of one of the variants or whatnot. And he was working on the landing gear, and got to see the animation of it, sort of like fold in, fold out, sort of like, oh, that's neat. Done by the end of today. And he was like, no, this is going to take a while. I was like, okay, we'll get it. First time go. Let's just get it right. A year later, going with a couple of goons, just saying hi to some of the guys. I get to walk in on Mike Smith again, and I shit you not, on that screen, I see the Constellation landing gear again. And I'm just like, this is a joke, right? What's going on? And so, nope, we're going to landing gear. It was just good.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
While you were there looking at the Constellation landing gear for the 5th or 6th or 20th time,
yep.
At any point, did you tell them, hey, man, put some in the front? Because and this is a sort of tangential point from the why does it take so goddamn long, but it's a point that actually I feel is pretty important, and it's one of the ones that led me even to getting my refund. If it's gonna take as long as it does, why are the ships so fucking poorly designed?
That is kind of hard. That's hard to say. I mean, like, obviously we can heap blame, a good majority of the blame on Chris Roberts, because everything is approved by Chris Roberts. He has to approve the style, and if he doesn't like it, it gets kicked back. Whether it's because it's a sensible design or it's a very stupid design, it goes through Chris Roberts. He kicks it back, says no, redo it. This is how I want it. Make this pixel blue, not green.
Have you ever witnessed that? Have you ever been in there when he's made some kind of crucial decision of that nature?
They were very good in not exposing me to that. I've only heard corroborating stories on such things.
Right. So I want to ask you something, because have you ever heard of the phrase, the sign of a great executive is delegation?
Yes. I agree with that 100%. Personal experience.
Right. Everybody on board, all of the people we talk to on a daily basis, these are working professionals. All right. We weren't all given a king's ransom of free goddamn money, and all I had to do was promise you every nook and cranny of whatever your video game fetish might be. So the rest of us got to work for a living, right? Right. At no time is anything Chris Roberts doing acceptable. The performance, the cost ratio is just absurd at this point. So at what point to I'm sure what everybody's thinking, when does this thing come to a close? Is it going to be because of the lawsuit, or is it going to be because their engine cannot be built upon any further? It's broken. They've stretched the elastic waistband, and it's not washing back after this wash. I mean, help me out here.
Go ahead.
All right.
I've been searching for an answer to that for at least a year.
I think that we all are sort of reading the bones as we want to, the way that they fall, and I think that the most likely, honest to God, the most likely outcome of this, and it's sad, I hate saying this because it really, thinking of this actually sort of makes me feel worse about human nature. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get no real resolution the way that we would want.
Agreed.
And what I mean by that is there's not going to be a big end to this.
No Francis Coppola, FBI raid.
No, exactly.
No.
Yeah,
there won't be any Rolling Stones playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's going to be no, Marky Mark hiding in the apartment with the gun.
No.
But what's going to happen is they're going to release sort of something, and they're going to call it their MVP, and they're going to say, listen, trust us, we're going to iterate on this, we're going to keep adding to it, we're going to keep adding to it, and they're going to sort of very slowly disappear. The reviews are going to be bad to middling. Most of the people on Reddit are going to say, hey, it's not good, don't get it. The people who have been the same people, Dapper, who like to follow you and I around and send us horrible things, are going to defend the game to the last man.
I find that hard to believe, but go on.
No, seriously, the Reddit posters, the people who leave comments on my
horrible
YouTube,
things.
Well, okay, I'm presuming that you've gotten some awful private messages from Star Citizen fans.
Oh, I'm still getting them to this day from the new Rising Star.
Yeah, I know I have. But those kind of people are going to defend the game to the last man. And it's just gonna peter out. And I think that the real crime of all of this is not that Chris Roberts gets away with it, because quite frankly, people have been getting away with worse scams for way longer, right? I don't think the crime is that Chris Roberts gets away with it. I think the crime is that people, Redditors, gamers, whatever you want to call them, I hate to lump people into groups like that, because every time somebody says we as gamers, I just roll my eyes until they fall out of my head. But I think the real crime is that people aren't going to realize what happened. Most people are going to go, oh yeah, some guy made a bad game. Oh, whatever, who gives a shit? And that's going to be the end of it. Nobody's going to, all of this, unfortunately, all of these things that people like Virtual Captain are doing to try and hold this company accountable, that people like Bootcha are doing to try and hold this, company accountable, they're all going to end up accounting for as much as that one time I typed, LMAO Star Citizen is bad into Reddit. It's all for nothing, kind of.
I can get that. Yeah, I mean,
I think you're right. And as long as people fall off one by one by one by one by one, you're probably right. But the only thing I can say against that is, if some of these people have put $10,000, $40,000 into this.
Oh, sure.
Are they really gonna go walk, turn off the lamp and close the front door and just forget about it?
100%. 100%. I think they will.
But wait, and here's really, I this is the question I kind of struggle with the most when I hear these absurd numbers that people are throwing at this game. At what point does a video game, any video game, deliver on that price point? I don't care what technological marvels there are. When do you peel back 10K?
I actually have an answer to this. I really do, because I only ever put $1,000 in, but it was more than. I mean,
that is astounding to me. That is like 3 years worth of my video gaming budget.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right, and I will absolutely not sit here and defend it, because I look back at it now and I go, Jesus Christ. But the reason why I'm saying that is a lot of people will go like, oh, there are legitimately people who would hear that and go like, you only put $1,000 in? You have no idea what somebody who put $10,000 in is thinking. But the thing is $1,000 to me at that time could very well have been the way that I thought about $1,000 at that point in my life could have been the way that somebody else thinks about $10,000. The thing is it very quickly, if you're the kind of person who buys into this and buys into it in a big way, it very quickly becomes ideological. It has nothing to do with the spaceships or the game itself. It's seriously, it's tropey as fuck, but it's the Joker burning the money and saying it's about sending a message. It becomes supporting what you want video gaming to aspire to. Which, remember, at the time they were selling this as, we're going to treat our employees right. We're going to, we don't need a publisher. We're going to stop gouging you with microtransactions. All of the stuff that they ended up totally fucking doing. They all of it ended up being 100% a lie. But at the time that I put my money in, it was they were billing themselves as the ethical game development company. And I believed in that. I wanted that more than any of the chips. I was like, fuck yeah, dude, there's a new way we can do this. And I think that for a lot of those people who put $5, $10, $15, $40,000 in, the game itself at this point is almost immaterial.
Wow.
So,
And you're
I
saying
guess,
this mentality persists to this day? I mean, I can understand that for a year or two.
100%.
No, it does definitely persist.
100%.
Wow.
I mean, think about whatever. I don't want to get into any of the topics, but think about any ideological stance that you can find, whether it's political or whatever. Think about any ideological stance that you can find, and try to imagine one where there's not people who are dug in despite evidence to the contrary.
Okay.
You can't. It's a natural reaction. As soon as it becomes ideological, it becomes part of your identity.
Exactly. Right. It's a tribalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guarantee you, for the guys who have $40,000 in this game right now, it does not matter what the game is going to end up being like.
Are the streamers in this kind of mentality, or what? Do you have any insight?
The only thing I can say is, as somebody who has streamed Star Citizen a couple times, it's a fucking nightmare and it sucks and it's unfun. And so I think the streamers probably don't feel that way.
Kayak appreciated the yard time
every now and then. But I think probably the streamers are just. I think probably the streamers are just trying to capitalize on streaming something that has a lot of money swirling around it. Star Citizen is like a money tornado. There's just dollars flying all over the goddamn place. And if you think that you can, if you're what the fuckosaurus, and you think you can get some of those dollars, why, all right, why not? I don't think they're hardcore. I seriously, all the guys streaming Star Citizen right now, I think because they actually do have to interact with it so frequently, I think that they know. I do.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're probably just skimming a little bit of the bean foam off the top of everything. I mean, I guess for me, sort of like, as you say, you don't want to get into like philosophical or theological, and I'm going to get into that myself. I would like to propose a theory. So I think we all understand the idea of a midlife crisis, correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the midlife crisis being, oh my God, what have I done with my life? I need to do something new and exciting to prove that I am not dead. Now, that is a emotional and psychological reaction to, shit, I'm mortal. Now, consider that sort of like a quarterly crisis of faith or something like that. In the sense that you touched upon it a little bit. Star Citizen represents a new way of doing something that you want to see. You want to affect a change in a hobby that you enjoy, in an industry that produces fun times for that hobby. And then what you start to do is you buy into this dream, buy into this hope, and say, yes, this is how I want things to do going forward. And you just buy in, and I touched upon this an episode with Galrox, was sort of like it feels good to give money to something that you believe in or enjoy.
100%.
It feels good.
Absolutely. I mean, the little dopamine rush that I got just from upgrading a pledge, I was like, yeah, man, I'm supporting something that's good and right. I'm into it.
I didn't. I just
You're
like,
100%
I got
right.
guns and cargo.
Yeah. And some people have bought into that dopamine rush. I mean, like, for probably various reasons. Some have sort of like tried to get into like the gray market, sort of like, oh, if I buy this ship, then I'll be able to make a little bit more money on it later. Some people are more into the, oh, this is the last video game I'll ever need to play. Others are sort of like, well, my buddies have bought in, so I may as well, I don't want to slack behind. That comes into more like peer pressure kind of stuff. But all of that kind of turns into this this collective pool of hope that sort of feeds upon itself because it feels good. That dopamine rush. And you don't want to feel bad about money that you spent. You don't want that buyer's remorse. It never feels good.
Right.
And you don't like it when people kind of tell you sort of like, hey, don't buy that tile because it's going to crowd up. You're going to hate having to do that. You're going to have to start all over again. They're going to be like, no, I'll just do it right this time.
Well, there's another aspect that goes into this that and I know we're getting way off. We're supposed to talk about how shitty the ships are, but there is another aspect that goes into why people put as much money as they do into it, and it's not just, it is everything that you said. Yeah, 100%. I literally can tell you from firsthand experience. It is exactly what you've said, but there's also there's sort of a force feedback when you are. The way that SIG works their releases and the way that they structure their patches, they're oftentimes around a ship. So this most recent 3.3.1 is a great example. The Reclaimer is the star feature of this new patch. Whatever else that they've added, what you see when you go streaming, and when you go watch streamers and you go look on Reddit and you go read about things, is you see the Reclaimer. It is the tentpole feature of this patch, and there's a huge amount of good feeling when you can reward them for putting out a patch by buying the thing that's in the patch, and moreover, when the community rewards you for having the thing that's in the patch, which has been a huge part of Star Citizen. Since the very, very beginning, we have all, and I know Bootcha can back me up on this, we have all sort of sorted ourselves out by what ships we have, what ships we're going to get, who's in the Bomber Bros, who's doing this, who's going to be the news van guy. As crazy as it is and as stupid as it sounds when you're looking at it from the outside, when you're in that community and you're a part of that community and you say like, ooh, you make a post on Reddit saying, just got in my new Reclaimer for the first time. Thanks for patch 3.1. Like, there's a huge amount of positive feedback that comes with that. And it becomes not a primary driving factor for purchasing, but a secondary driving factor that oftentimes can just kind of push you over the edge.
Just like that dopamine rush of seeing, oh man, I got 300 upvotes or whatever the number is.
A great example is in the 2014 Christmas sale or whatever. Whenever they first debuted the Banu Merchantman or whatever, I was done spending on Star Citizen. It came up the last day of the sale, and I was like, I wasn't gonna buy it until I saw how much people loved it on Reddit. And that honestly, and it's embarrassing to say, it's extremely embarrassing to say, but like part of the reason that kind of just gave me the little push over the edge of the cliff was seeing how well the community responded to that ship, if that makes sense.
Oh
yeah. So the Banu Merchantman went on sale 11/26/2013. So it was around.
Sorry. Yeah, 2013. That's right. We had this is a huge story, but my wife and I got another Star ship for Christmas that year. That's how seriously, that's how into it we both were.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we can segue this into, like the hopes and the dreams, sort of like, I guess sort of like the dopamine rush that we all got. But we transitioned this into what the community has become now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to segue into. And the question for me always becomes, I haven't posted on the RSI forums before, but it seemed, we've heard a lot about their draconian rules and things like that. How did this feed into the community as it exists today? Is it completely separate, or is that mentality of, oh, don't say anything bad, is that carried over?
I suspect Dapper Don might have some insights into the mechanisms and I know I do. I interact with the community kind of quite a lot. So come back to me at the end.
Yeah, and I have like examples of goons ruining everything as far as me trying to patch up community shit with Ben Lesnick.
Now, I
sorry,
heard
not sorry.
Now there was a Goon Wrathy prior to this one, where Ben Lesnick was actually a guest.
I was not a part of that. That was Gorf. No, that wasn't Gorf. That was Gegel. That was Andersbot. That was Stalker, and that was Ben Lesnick. So that was, and I think, what's his name? The guy that actually made the videos, and I know his real name, but I'm not. I won't dox him here.
Okay.
Thanks, Derek.
So I mean, he actually went on that show to try to, it was an olive branch, extended by the goons as opposed to an olive branch extended by Ben. But in any case, Dapper, I think want to hear your side of what turned everything so toxic.
Well, I backed a few years ago, and it was after a long period of frustration of just how horrible, just absolute horrible, the game pitched and where it was at that point in time and how it played were night and day. And at first, I walked into the thing, very inquisitive, this, that, and the other, asking, searching throughout the community. And at that point, everybody was super inclusive, everything was great. Again, and then so much so that I had not only purchased my starter package, but I had actually expanded on it and upgraded it to when there were no gains. There were no gains in any of the updates, any of the patches. The game was just horrible and nothing close to the videos that they were showing when I bought into it. It was, and so I would ask the community, is there something wrong? The standard fare, is there something wrong with my computer settings? Is there something wrong with my computer? Help me, please, community, because this doesn't seem right. And the more I was asking, quite honestly, very valid questions like, why does this seem so fundamentally broken? Not just on the fringes where you would expect a game with so much polish, but why is this on a fundamentally level so broken? And the community that was once so opening and loving and accepting and helpful, all of a sudden, the torches and pitchforks came out. And it was at that point, I think I suffered in a matter of 60 days, almost a negative 10,000 internet points on whatever it is they give you at Reddit. It was just horrible. And so I kept hearing things like, the goons and something awful and Derek Smart. Well, Derek Smart's easy to find out, but what the fuck is a goon, at that point?
And then it was all over for you.
Oh, yeah.
From there.
I was like, wait, what is this? And so the first time I logged into something awful, when you don't log in or you don't have an account, you get that horrible fucking video of that kid getting the window shut down and screaming. I knew at that point, you know what? Senior low tax, here's my $10. I knew I needed to see what the fuck was behind this wall.
I mean, I kind of had the same kind of thing when I registered my account. I was just sort of like, I got to find out what the fuck's behind this curtain. But I mean, your experience actually, it reminds me of Jeffrey MacArthur's video experience, and God rest his soul. Remember the old game designer that had the colon cancer? Yeah. And he he made that series of videos as "Am I Too Stupid to Play Star Citizen?"
Oh,
and
yeah.
sort of like he tried to play it. He sort of like he wasn't like frustrated. He wasn't angry, frustrated. He was just sort of like, wow, I don't understand this. And like he actually,
really bad.
yeah, who knew? But like the violent vitriol that descended upon this guy, just sort of like this random person that that unfortunately everybody knew too little about, for his engineering and programming history. And like it just turned like, I guess apparently it's like, why don't you understand? Why can't you understand this? Why don't you believe? I mean, someone with more psychology education and certification probably answer this a lot more clearly, but that you don't get it. You are not one of us, and you obviously will never be, is such a target, is such a reason for like this vitriol that comes out of like the Star Citizen faithful.
Well, I think you're right. I think that the easy answer, maybe not the easy answer, but the most simple explanation of the thing is that human beings, for a variety of reasons, really like assembling themselves into little groups, into little tribes. Tribalism is something that human beings have had to deal with for their entire life.
Ever. Yes.
Forever. For as long as we've been walking around, killing shit and eating it, tribalism has been a problem for us. But specifically in relation to Star Citizen, I think it gets a little more complex. And I think that there's a number of reasons that could that could cause somebody to be this way. And I think that this is probably best started by addressing the elephant in the room, which is, in fact, all of us. Now, there are some people here who have made very well thought out and reasonable criticisms of Star Citizen, who have done so in a manner that is as close to neutral as you can be, and have really put forth questions that cause backers to have to think for themselves and answer those questions, and they might not always like what they see, and that's uncomfortable. But in a lot of ways, in a lot of times, the way that message is delivered, can have an effect on whether or not a citizen can deal with that discomfort.
Yes, and Virtual Captain has done very good on that front.
There are other people here who have not done that, and who instead have been somewhat more crude and somewhat more humorous and somewhat less understanding or caring about the way that backers and fans think and feel about the game and themselves. And I think that part of it would be remiss. Yeah, Dapper, how dare you?
I'm sorry,
you jerk. It would be remiss of us to say, why did the community get so toxic, without pointing out that a couple of us here in this very group have kind of helped it along a little bit. Now, are we responsible for that? No, because I remember way, way, way back on my original alt Reddit account, which was very pro Star Citizen, and before I ever joined something awful, and if you were to go look at it right now, which I'm gonna give you that, if you're gonna look at it right now, you would be like, Jesus Christ, dude, dial it down a little bit. I remember pointing out something as simple as saying, hey, the strut in the freelancer window is right in the center of view on the screen, and people lost their shit. I had a 4-day argument about it. And I think that the main factor is, if you have put, for example, $1,000 into something, and that something is wrong, or there is something bad with that, there are a select group of people who cannot deal with that. So the thing that they support either has to be 100% right or 100% wrong. And I think that that's the main driver, and that some people here have just sort of helped that along. A little bit. Yeah. Not a lot.
Right now on the stream, I have a post about moved to concern highlighted. And
No.
and I think CIG is more involved with this mentality than some of us like to admit. I mean, I'll read to you the bold part of this post, but it says, backers quickly learn not to create threads that could even potentially be deemed concern threads, lest they be banned by association. Rather grim and pathetic culture sprang up, whereby a backer raising a concern would feel the need to start their post with 2 or 3 paragraphs reaffirming their support for the project and their loyalty, lest the mob descend and an RSI moderator wade into the thread and mark and brand it with concern. And so I feel like they kind of guided the community to punish these outspoken people who were, even pointing out, like you said, the smallest infraction.
Oh, sure. 100% that's something that's been done, and they bear responsibility for it.
Now, is that Sandy's personality coming through the forums, or where does this come from?
Here is the crux of the entire mystery that you find what some people call a cult. No, what this is a gravitational pull of people that favor authoritarianism.
Okay.
If you look at the entire premise of Wing Commander, all of the games forward, all right, it's very, very fascist, militaristic.
Dude.
Okay, this is a fostering of that. That there is no mysticism behind anything Chris Roberts is doing other than fostering that base and gutter mentality
Of like military organization?
These are racist.
Oh, yeah.
These are xenophobes. These are people with hate in their hearts.
Jesus Christ, Dapper pulling out the big guns over here.
Damn, yeah. I mean, you can maybe point at some of the Van Duel propaganda and say, "Oh, this is got racist undertones," but man,
no, UE is very fascist as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like Starship Troopers kind of stuff.
Yes.
Well, you gotta look. Yeah, you gotta look at
without the tongue in cheek.
Right.
No, but this is not. This is not. Chris Roberts is that autist kid that has no humor. He's bashing his fucking toys together and telling you the story he wants you to hear.
I don't know where to go from Chris Roberts, but I actually, I mean, joking aside, I agree with you. You look at the source material for Star Citizen and you go like,
remember the old forums. All right, we have a forum friend, Mirificus, who is nothing short of a archiving machine.
Well, yeah, okay. You say friend. I feel like I should to everybody who is listening who might not be familiar with inside jokes and inner workings of the Star Citizen thread. Mirificus is a bot that we use to archive ridiculous Star Citizen nonsense from across the web. Mostly Reddit, sometimes the official forums. But it's a
bot, guys. Don't look into it. Don't try to dox him. I've seen the source code. It's a bot.
Only semi-sentient.
But I totally derailed that. I'm sorry.
I drunk message.
we are running up. I think on.
What the fuck is answering that? Thanks, man.
New conspiracy theories: Mirificus is a cat-loving bot.
So
no, it's not a conspiracy. Mirificus is a bot. I don't understand.
Holy shit!
I don't understand why we're. Yeah, no. I mean, there's a guy that runs the Mirificus bot.
Whoever the fuck that is that I talk to, then, dude, you're the best.
So we're running.
I can't believe you didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Holy shit!
I just ruined everything.
Dude, you just fucked me up. Mountain just crumbled, you fucker.
Ah, dude, I should have. We could have let that. We could have let that run forever. I'm sorry. That's on me. That's my bad.
God damn it! There is no fucking God.
So getting back. I mean, all you have to do is look at the lore. All you have to do is look at the lore, such as it is for Star Citizen. It's the Roman Empire versus the Huns. I mean, it doesn't get it doesn't get much more authoritarian than that.
No, and this carries over. Okay, let's bring in, since you guys wanted to bring in his bulking husk, Ben Lesnick and his fucking infamous website.
Oh, geez.
Hamster sandwiches, yeah. Or
Yeah.
Ham 2 slices. Yeah.
All right. Insert armband here, son.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
come on, and look at how he fostered the old forums to his fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was done to correct it. That fuckstick Borax, all right, he was nothing more than his enforcer.
Now, is that moderator active?
Yeah, over in Spectrum.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Borax is still around.
Wow. So we're coming up here on, I'd probably give us about a 10-minute warning or so. I think we got to all the topics that we really wanted to get to. The only one I've got here that I don't know we've covered specifically was Diamond of Failure.
Oh!
Yes. working on
Diamond of engineering failure.
I mean, we've covered, pushing the engine to the limits quite a bit. I mean, part of the thing that fascinates me so much about this company is they just go seemingly after every single anti-pattern that I know.
So I guess to talk about that is we talked a bit before about the dev cycle or the hourly man rate or whatever it was, and we talk about engineering problems now in the context of that. Now, one of the things that you need in order to push out a video game is that everybody in your coding, your programming, your art style, everybody needs to be on the same page. This is what we call developer knowledge. So you have a certain amount of years of developer knowledge, depending on your roles and whatnot. Like Eric Peterson probably has 15, 20 years of developer knowledge. So like he has made the mistakes of his past youth. And then you have a guy with 10 years of developer knowledge, 5 years developer knowledge. So the problem of the turnover of CIG sort of like upper end managers and the lower end programmers is that we have started to notice the trend that a lot of greenhorns are getting pushed into roles that they are not yet experienced for. Sort of like QA guys going into design positions and sort of like skipping hey, we need you to understand what coding is kind of stuff. And so you have a team manager with 2 years game knowledge in a position where you probably want something more along the lines of 5-6 years of knowledge. And that is a knowledge gap, or that's a game knowledge gap. Can't be fixed with money unless you are offering stupid amounts of money to people in other developer houses. And it seems like not a lot of people are coming from other development houses over the Star Citizen side. I mean, like the one big thing back in the early days was trying to get a hold of a physics programmer. That took years. I think it took well past the time I was actually out as an investor to finally get a physics program. And I don't even know the guy is a full physics programmer. I think he's just been put on physics.
It sounds to me kind of, and this can't be true, so I must be misinterpreting it. But it sounds to me like you're telling me you can't build two of the world's most advanced quadruple A groundbreaking video games with a bunch of Full Sail graduates. Is that what you're telling me? That can't be right.
For $6 million in 2 years. $6 million in 2 years.
Well, at the
Because
beginning,
anything beyond that would be
okay. So to put into
Dale.
some context, okay, we didn't have Full Sail graduates starting out. You know, we had Martin Galway, we had Eric Peterson.
you ran
so,
away
like,
the folks.
But we ran, yes, Chris Roberts ran away those folks. And
How
then
the fuck did everybody else just go, that's fine?
What else are you gonna do, man? What else? What if you're okay? So you're working at SIG. Good guys are leaving. You gonna go tell the guy who just fired Eric Peterson that no, that was a bad move? No, man. You keep getting a paycheck.
Okay, for clarification, Eric Peterson was not fired; he left.
Okay, yeah, sorry,
Okay, so,
sorry.
I mean,
I should
most of this-
clarify. I have no inside knowledge of who was fired.
Okay,
who
I
want
to say this because I don't know Chris Roberts. I don't. I would love to have a conversation with
Have
him.
you on the
I would
show, dude.
Absolutely,
You're invited, Chris.
absolutely love to have a conversation
shit,
with
I
him
gotta make
because
a-
there are
a
there are
reason.
quite a few things about things that he's thought of that I find interesting. However, I would like to talk to him about how he feels that the highest he's ever achieved in his professional career, okay, and not just under his own flag where he can create his own title, but the highest he's ever achieved in his own career, in his chosen field, was an art director. Right? That's as high as he got for some niche video game back in the day of Wild West goddamn computing.
Well, hang on.
Come on. So
What was the art
when we
director? What game was that?
Wing Commander.
Okay.
He was the art director. He went from that to that is all he ever was until all of a sudden Digital Anvil.
Okay,
And- So he did not rise to a level of executive status organically. He paid his way to get there. That is a different breed than when your peers lift you up to that position. The reason why that is I have an entire career of being subjected and submersed to nothing but successful people. Chris Roberts bought his way to the top, and he's failing under pressure, and you cannot deny that.
Okay, I am going to argue a counterpoint to you. So Chris Roberts, as far as okay, stop that. Okay, so Chris Roberts, initially, so he has made games on his own before, as far as like his old BBC Micro days. He's made his own games before. When he moved down to Texas with his dad, joined Origin, he was a mid-level programmer at the time. So he worked on two games, and then he created the Wing Commander game. So he was actually creative and project director on that. And then after that, he went on to be a project lead and director on Strike Commander. While Wing Commander 2 was actually that was someone else's baby, and Chris Roberts was just a creative consultant for pretty much those things. He was a producer, but pretty much creative consultant. And then Wing Commander 3 comes around. He is the director, but not so much a project manager, because project manager was mostly dealing with the with video game engine stuff, while Chris Roberts was dealing with the full motion video, and that divide was even more separated with the Wing Commander 4 game. Now, again, a lot of people give Chris Roberts credit for Privateer, whereas that was the Aaron Roberts and Elms brothers. And then, for Freelancer, I mean, him being in full directorial control of that game, other than, the Microsoft buyout and then his eventual expulsion from that project. So Chris Roberts didn't buy himself up.
Okay, no. Full stop.
Okay.
Just on the face of everything you said, before I go tearing that ass apart on a simple Google search. let me tell you something. Every position you just described, all right, every position that he has organically risen to has been nothing but middle management. Okay? No, there is a different breed between the levels of his competency and where an executive status belong. I am sorry, but I'm going to disagree with you 100%.
Okay, I will add a caveat. I will add a caveat to this. So the old way of making video games was the old Rockstar developer project manager. Sort of like, your John Romero's, your Richard Garriott's,
Correct.
your Spencer, Cliffy B. I mean, sort of like you had the Rockstar guy that would get results, and you put that guy in charge of a project. Yes, middling management. Yes, I will agree with you on that point. And that is how it was done. How I would just say Roberts did create a good product at the time that made a lot of money, and therefore he was promoted based upon that performance.
All right, I want to halt you right there, because the crux of that, where the fulcrum of that meets reality. All right, let me tell you something right there. The art director, the highest position he has ever organically risen to, all right, his was to approve art that was submitted below him. That was it. That was it. He was managed, and he was managed harshly. If you go back and look at his Wing Commander days, he was managed harshly until the product shipped. Now, he never created shit. He approved other people's work. That was it. He got lucky on Wing Commander. That was it, because he approved the right artist's shit. End of discussion. He is not an executive.
He has not proven himself to be a good executive. I will agree with. Yes.
I mean, that's it. There are people that I know that are great carpenters. They can frame a house. They can build you a bench. But there's a difference between that and a furniture artisan.
I will say this.
Or a luthier.
About Chris Roberts, I will say this, and I think it invalidates both of your arguments, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I really don't mean to make this more contentious than it is now, because
I love it.
This has been some beautiful, heavy shit going on right here. But I think, honestly, you're both wrong. And the reality of the fact is that Chris Roberts is a thumb in a turtleneck.
I bow to that.
I'm sorry. I have about Chris Roberts, which is insane when you think about the fact that I gave him $1,000. But I'm glad that there are people here who have strong.
No, you gave $1,000 to the people that made the videos that I gave $1,000. You thought you were buying into.
Yeah, I gave $1,000 to the Crytek guys and whoever drew the picture of the first picture of the Retaliator, which I'm still furious about. Just as an aside.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dapper, I want to say I do concede the argument that Chris Roberts was not organically promoted, or at least not organically or gradually promoted through the origin from his art director, from his from his trench programming. He pitched an idea and then he got lucky and jumped a couple of steps into producer executive roles, as opposed to learning how to manage manage a couple of projects underneath somebody else.
I mean, that's sort of what happened with John Romero, though, right? I mean, isn't this just Ion Storm again?
Well, John Romero and Carmack, were a tandem. I mean, like that from Apogee and id Software.
But Chris is big enough to be two different guys. But seriously, all jokes aside, wasn't that kind of the way that it was done back then? And hasn't that traditionally, as far as we've been able to tell, played out to be pretty bad when you look at the track records of Romero and Garriott and Cliffy B, who is hawking a PUBG knockoff right now that doesn't actually work.
Here, you know what?
Are we talking Fortnite?
No, Cliffy B is not hawking Fortnite. He made a he made a Fortnite clone.
Oh, that's right.
He made a clone of the clone of the PUBG itself was a clone. So
here's the thing, and this is how I manage business, and this is how I manage life. And one of the things I like to do above and beyond anything is I want to take away every excuse you can possibly ever have, right? And then we'll walk backwards from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a sound logic.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Chris fucking Roberts.
I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm telling you, because I just had my hair dyed.
It's not a wig. I'm shocked.
I know. Well, you know, they have those things done now because
I feel lied to.
Anyway. And so my obstacle, and this is why I have to keep spending time designing and fucking around with ships instead of making my game and developing my new technology and all of these great things that I'm pulling out of my ass at random times, depending what I need to sell to the crowd to make my numbers. Okay, let's take away the concept of money. All right. Now, let's take away the concept of employees. We'll consolidate everyone around the world into one big mega office. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give them so many supercomputers. It could make your head spin. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need, here it is. All you need to do is make what you say you have work. What's your hold up now?
Expertise. Competency. I mean,
design knowledge.
I haven't, I said on a different
we
show.
We
I
can't
actually have a different answer than any. Well, I guess only 2 other people answered. I heard competency. I heard design knowledge. I heard expertise. I think, if I'm being perfectly honest, failure to stop iterating. There's nothing that Chris Roberts has ever done or ever allowed other people to do with Star Citizen that is not currently, still, right now, undergoing iteration. And that includes everything from mechanics to final art, which why they finalized art before the game was even built is beyond me. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this. I don't know that I believe necessarily that Chris Roberts is the malicious scammer, and I don't know that I believe that he's the bumbling idiot, so much as I believe that he is kind of a little bit of both. I think that Chris still thinks he can do it, but I think that it's his own failure to say that's good enough that is mostly tripping him up.
If we can call that perfectionist disease, I am with you.
Okay, yeah, 100% perfectionist disease. Yep, I agree.
On that, we better wrap it up. I think we're topping off on the second hour here. Go ahead and give me your outros.
Yeah, we are topping off. All right, well, I will start. Thanks and listening to us.
Whoop! You're gonna have to do that again. You're cutting out a lot.
Oh, gall darn it! I'm not gonna swear. I've already done that too many times. Anyway, I'm Beet Wagon, and thank you and listening to us yell about nonsense for another hour. I'll see you next time.
And I am Bootcha, and I just want to say thank you, Dark Continent. Good night.
I'm Dapper Don here. Thanks a lot there, Virtual Captain. It's been a pleasure to be on your show. Beet Wagon, always a pleasure to talk to you. Bootcha,
always.
Great to finally meet you. And the rest of you guys that are watching and listening, have a great time. Talk to you later.
Hey, I'm your virtual captain. That's the end of this show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all my guests, and see you next time.